Last week, well, week one, we are in week 3 of Ministry Beyond Messy People. In week 1, we talked about ministry beyond disciples. Important because if we keep it real, sometimes we have to do ministry beyond the folk who should be doing ministry. I'm going to move on before I get in trouble. But everybody who holds the mantle of goodness ain't good. I know I said I'm going to move on and say it one more time, though. This is a different way. In my experience field, human experience, this is now an opinion, human experience. The folk who go out their way to tell you they're good are the ones who are not. Am I the only one who live on planet Earth? It's this. Okay. In week 2, we talked about ministry beyond when people talk. Because here's our little blind boy. He's not a boy, he's a man. And he has been healed. And folk got a problem with his healing. You ever met somebody like that? Are you old enough to be old enough to know when things start working out in your life? It's some folk close to you who seem to have a problem that you ain't struggling no more. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. A lot of people benefit from your poverty. Ministry beyond when people talk. He was healed, came back, and instead of saying, "Oh, Susan, I'm so glad you can see. It must have been terrible for you, Susan. For 30 years, you could not see. Give me a hug, Susan. I have a job for you." But that ain't what they did. They say, "Now, what? Wait a god dog. Susan, we all know Susan been out here struggling. What the hell is she doing seeing now? And she clean. Wait a minute. This is what happened. This man got blessed. And instead of praising with him, they got mad at him. Which leads us now to week 3, ministry beyond doubts. That's what we is not, Grace. I'm giving you a summation of the text. So in part 3, we're going to talk about ministry beyond doubt. I've only pulled up those verses that I want to read today. And I want to hear the conversation. I'm going to read it twice. First time I'm going to read it. The second time I read and explain the context. And then I'm going to open up for discussion. It reads as follows. They brought to the Pharisees the man who had formerly been blind. Now it was the Sabbath, the day when Jesus made the mud and opened his eyes. So the Pharisees asked him how had he received his sight. Then he said to them, "Well, he put mud on my eyes, and I washed, and I see." Some of the Pharisees said, "This man is rich. For he does not keep the Sabbath." But the others said, "Innocent, do such great things." And there was a division amongst them. So they said again to the blind man, "What do you say about him then? Since he opened your eyes, He said, "Well, she must be a prophet. He must be a prophet." Can we read this one more time? This time,
Oh,
Jerome,
I'm so
I'm going
sorry.
to explain. Uh-huh.
I have a knowledge gap, and I
That,
just
that, good.
so
I'm about to go ahead.
you said because he healed the blind man on the Sabbath, and they're not
Okay.
supposed to do stuff on the Sabbath. So you saying the healing of the blind man triggered Jesus' crucifixion?
This was one of them for sure. That was one of the reasons. That
Uh,
is, that's one of those
yeah.
reasons that explicitly is said, like explicitly out loud.
So making
Jesus,
people cause Jesus' crucifixion is
that
what
is
you just said.
that's the main reason. So okay, so let's acknowledge got this here. So you have two sets of reasons why Jesus was crucified. Now here's the deal. This does not take faith. Jesus was crucified. Whether it was the Son of God, whether it was a great prophet or a con man, that is up for discussion. If you believe in Christianity, keep that. If you don't, keep that too. But 100% a man named Jesus from Nazareth, who had King of Kings in three different languages, was crucified. We have more extra biblical literature, proof, and first hand sources of Jesus' crucifixion than we do King Tut. Just, we have like 30 something sources of Jesus's crucifixion. We have two that King Tut was in a tomb in Egypt. Not just that, we also have very little archaeological evidence or even historical evidence of Alexander the Great. But not just that, we got even far more evidence that the Egyptian pyramids are big old cemeteries for pharaoh's tombs. The one thing nobody here gets denied is some dark-skinned dude was crucified. Can't deny that. We have evidence of that. Now, what that meant to the world, Jerome, we can argue about that all day, and we've been doing it. We've been doing it. So there's two sets of reasonings why Jesus was crucified. Reason set number one, completely non-religious. Reason set number two, completely non-religious with religion behind it. I will explain. Set number one is Rome got rid of all kings, and the governor had two jobs: collect my money and keep these fools in line. More accurately, collect taxes, keep down riots. That's how a scholar said. Antonio can go from the hood to scholar real quick. Get my motor scooter money and keep these motor scooters in line. And I don't mean motor scooters. Y'all ever let somebody stay over your house? And the first thing you say is, not my house. This is how Rome was saying about every country they conquered. Not my house. I'm explaining that because it's going to become a big part of this text in a little bit. So, from a Roman side, Pontius Pilate had no choice but to stop the riot because it was his only two jobs: collect taxes and stop riots. And guess what the Jews were threatening to do? Riot. Now, on the Hebrew side, it was also non religious, but backed up, powered by religion. I'll explain. This wasn't just a regular Sabbath that was coming. Oh, no, no, no. This was Passover. And before Passover, you have a whole 24-hour festival called unleavened bread. If you go back to the book of Exodus, the first thing they did was they took unleavened bread and they ate, dumped. And then what they did is when they put the blood on the door, the angel of death passed over them. And from that moment on, it was a 7-day celebration, 8 if you count the unleavened bread that came before. So there's a huge feast that comes, and then Passover is so important. Passover is so important, Otis, that 3 times a year, all all Jews, no matter where they were in all the world, had to come to Bethlehem, back to Judea. This is how we got our census, and this is exactly why Jesus was born in Bethlehem, because it just happened to be during census time. Well, it's not census time. During, it's either Festival of Harvest, Festival of Unleavened Bread, or Festival of Tabernacles. These three things you had to always come back. From that, Deanna, it gets more difficult because the Jews go, now wait a rootin' tootin' minute, and I don't mean rootin' tootin'. We can't have Passover. And never in the history of us, even when we was in slavery in Babylonian captivity and Persian captivity, we never missed Passover. And on top of that, if we miss Passover, God ain't gonna bless us. Now somebody gonna go, that's stupid. I dare y'all to tell your church, don't have church this Sunday. And see, rain, sleet, or snow, if church gonna happen on Sunday. It could be a whole tropical storm, hurricane, Susan. Church gonna be online this Sunday, but church gonna happen one way or the other. You understand? Okay, so this is what happened, and here's what happened, Deanna. Remember, non-religious, powered by religion. The Hebrews go, now wait a minute. If we don't get these motor scooters together, Rome gonna shut us down. Why? Because Jesus got all this following, and he done already rode in the damn town on the donkey. Not inaccurate. We call it today. Well, we call it a few things. It just depends on what day you're talking about. You want Monday, you want Monday, Tuesday, you want Palm Sunday. Like, it doesn't matter, whichever one you want to talk about. Good Friday, we got a lot of them. We have a lot of them. We're talking about Crucifixion Week, if you're following along. And they say, oh my God, Otis, we gotta hurry up and get rid of this food before Passover. This is why they rushed him from judgment hall to judgment hall. This is why they tried him at night, because the clock was ticking. And they had about 8 hours before it was Passover time. And what can we not do on Passover, Deanna? Crucify somebody. What can't we do? Judge somebody. What can't we do? Hold the trial. The only thing we can do is sit there, shut up, and observe the Lord. So the Sanhedrin, this was the bishops of the church. Totally not what that means in first century Judaism, but I'm just trying to give you today's the big 12 of the Jews, of the Pharisees. Still inaccurate with the number, but you get the point. I'm trying to make this relatable, applicable. They made a business decision. They didn't make a religious decision. They made a business decision. Get rid of him before Passover. What are we gonna do, man? Pay that fool? Didn't you hear him talking? Man, pay this man his money. Get his food 20 silvers. What's that boy named Judas? Get Judas. Let's hurry up. So we get this out the way. Well, but we got to give him due process. Rome helped invent due process. Rome said we got to make sure he get a fair trial. And the Hebrews said, go and try him right now. Look at the text. It says he went from one place to Caiaphas. Caiaphas, what do you say? You the son of God? You say I am. I can't get no answer out of him. Send this boy to Pontius Pilate. I can't talk to him. I ain't getting no straight answer from him. I don't see nothing wrong. I ain't getting no answer from him. And he went to another place, Pontius Pilate. Pontius Pilate say, look, God dog, you Hebrews get on my nerves. Every time this year, every time a year, when y'all doing your little Passover thing that I don't understand, kissing people in the mouth and drinking of the blood and stuff, you little cannibals. No, this is the way the Romans understood Christians. The holy kiss. Like, ooh, y'all out there with the incest.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Why would they drink blood if Jesus hadn't died already?
No, well, this is fair enough, but the what you would call the Eucharist was already a form of practice, just not, it had not been, to share bread and to share wine was already a practice. It wasn't made up at the Last Supper.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't made up at the Last Supper. It wasn't made up at the Last Supper. It was something that we already did, and Jesus took something that was already a tradition and holianized it, made it a sacrament. Is the proper term here? Made it a sacrament. Deanna. So now here's what happened. Some people was going, we gotta, if we don't stop this, there will be a riot, and we need to stop this now. And one of the Hebrews named Antonio went, well, look, we only got 3 hours and 37 minutes, something like that. And they said, well, take him to Pontius. And Pontius Pilate said, look, God dog it. Every last time y'all get together about this festival of harvesting, Passover, I always let one of y'all people go free. So look, since was Passover is the renewing of life. I'm going somewhere. Because what happened, Jerome? Egypt died, but Israel was spared. What does Paul call Jesus? What coincides with Passover? Astrologically and seasonally? Harvest. And what does Paul call Jesus? The firstborn fruit of the harvest. He was the first resurrected during the harvest time. So he's saying one day there'll be a great harvest. Susan likes that kind of talk, David Jeremiah. And Jesus was the first fruit of that great harvest, is what's being said. So then Pontius Pilate can go, God dog, it says, y'all like this kind of behavior? Barabbas or Jesus? And I know y'all ain't gonna pick Barabbas. Y'all don't even like this dude. Y'all don't even like Barabbas. He's a rapist and killing, and he's a Trump supporter. Y'all don't even like him, or whatever. Like whatever y'all hate today. I have no idea what y'all hate today, but you get the point. Y'all don't even like him. And he P Diddy. He got 1,000 baby oils. Right? If you're up at current times, y'all don't even like this kind of stuff. And they go, give us Barabbas, crucify him, because Barabbas wouldn't cause no riots. Now, of course, that was already written in scripture, though. If you're a Christian, it had to happen like that, because if you go to specifically if you go to Leviticus, but if you read Exodus and Leviticus, you'll find out that there's a law called I'm making this applicable. It's called scapegoat. So you literally say today, Phil used me as a scapegoat. What happened was there was 2 goats. One of them was throat slit, who died for all the sins, because you kill one of them to absorb the sins of the people so the rain can come and the fruit can come and God can bless us. And then any sins that was left over, you hit the little goat on the booty and let it run out the city lines. And that effectively became an a scapegoat. In the 21st century, we just say scapegoat. Yes, half the stuff y'all talk about literally comes from the Bible. You don't even eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. That's actually in the Bible. Okay. Half the stuff y'all talk about. The idea of a scapegoat is one goat has to die, the other goat runs off with the sins to make you sinless. Now, press play. Barabbas was the goat that ran off with the sins. Jesus was the goat that died for him. If I was Grace, if I was in church, I wish I had one or two people in the building today, because that's if I got a church full of 60-year-olds, they would have shouted right there, right there, okay, right there. So that's your very detailed contextual answer, Deanna, of what's going on. Okay, very detailed contextual answer, because what's happening in this text, excuse me, what about the crucifixion? What happened as far as crucifixion go is there's a lot of stuff. Now, here's the deal. The reason I know this, and some people know this, it's not in the Bible per se the way you want it to be, because the people writing the Bible ain't talking to you, Jerome. The book of Matthew starts off with a king of the Hebrews and ends with a governor of Rome. Because Matthew just assumes that Phil, who is living when Matthew is living, understands that somewhere around 602, not 602, somewhere around, somewhere around 602 BC, Rome said, no more kings, only one king. Whoever was running the emperor, right? The whatever you want to call it. Only Caesar is king, and only, right, that's that person. That was actually the downfall of Rome. Once they made the Caesar king, once they made an emperor Democrat, not to say like Democrat Party, just democracy, and a king of the free world. Once they did that, that was the downfall of Rome. So a lot of people that y'all are calling liberals are trying to stop the institution of a king over a free world, like letting the president have a third term, or giving the executive party the executive branch more power than the judicial branch and the legislative branch, call it checks and balances. A lot of people you call liberals, libtards, are trying to stop that, not because they're liberals. It's because they know that if anybody looks like Rome, it's America. Guess who? Guess what Rome had? A republic. I'll push it further. Guess what else Rome had? They had a weighted democracy. Let's just assume there was 25 levels. Anybody who did not own property, didn't have no money, was on level 1. There's a whole bunch of them motor scooters. And anybody on level 2 had a little bit. And at the people on level 24, guess what they were called? Senators. And guess how many senators was allowed to be under Caesar? 2. And guess what America has? A vice president who is the head of the Senate, the Congress. Literally, our entire democracy is not a democracy. It is a republic shaped and formed after Rome. We do not have a democracy. America is a republic. If we had a democracy, we wouldn't have electoral college now, would we? Anyway, see, the problem I got, Phil, is I read. Stupid me. Stupid me. Right? All right. So that's the problem. So you see that happening in this text, because the Sabbath is not just a holy day. What you have, yeah, we literally pledge allegiance. The Sabbath is not just a holy day. You're going to see it in this text. We spend so long explaining that because it's all throughout this text. The reason we have a Sabbath, because it's not just a holy day, Kenneth. It's y'all not obeying it. That's why God got Rome over us. Rewind, press play. I want you to think about, anybody ever heard of Hitler? Yeah, you heard of Hitler? Russia?
I have.
So I want you to think about this right now. I want you to think about if China or Russia invades America right now. Everybody following that? Now, if China or Russia invades America and wins, y'all ready for this? What's the first thing y'all think y'all gonna say in church? It's because we've sinned. No, don't you boo jive me. It's because we became a nice country, and that's why God let this happen to this great country. And then his deal. That's on day one, Jerome. Now let Russia rule over America for 400 years. Now we got a whole different situation, Pastor Tony. Now we got people like Antonio going, we ought to kill Russia. That's called the Zealots. Simon, one of the disciples, was Simon the Zealot. I'm not done yet. Then we have the Essenes. Essenes are people who going, you know what? She get on my damn nerves. I don't like Ina. Well, but she ain't no Christian. She ain't about nobody. That's her damn problem. She ain't no Christian. So I go, well, Ebony Christian, Ebony get on my nerves too. Ebony go, well, what Ebony did? But she ain't Christian and right. All right, then, that's where you go. Well, she liberal? I don't know what she is. Okay, well, Jerome ain't liberal. Don't Jerome is, but Jerome, he messed up too. So what the Essenes do, the Essenes say, you know what? Everybody crazy. Let's just go off to ourselves and honor God. So while we laugh about it, we doing that today. I just watched Joel Osteen on TV and just, help me somebody.
Ain't no way to watch Joel and came at us like this.
Hey, who is the Essene in the Bible as far as you know? John the Baptist. Then you got the Sadducees. And if I was anywhere in the New Testament, I'd be a Sadducee or a Zealot. Just depending on when you caught me, Phil. If you caught me in my early 20s, your boy was a zealot. I'm trying to go off with my oppressor's head. You understand? Off with his head. You're going to die. I wish you would. I wish you would fool with me. Take my bomber jacket. I'm talking about the 90s. I don't know what I'm talking about. Steal my Jordans. I wish you would, right? You got something like that. Go ahead.
You know what bomber jackets are.
Go ahead, Phil.
The Sadducees didn't believe in heaven. That's why they were so sad, you see.
Oh, I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Yeah.
And I'm old enough to remember that on Sunday, almost all the stores were closed.
All the stores were closed.
Literally. Literally.
Now we make fun of Chick-fil-A for closing.
Yeah.
Stupid Chick-fil-A. When they going, right? All the stores were closed. Look at that. Here's the deal, Dion. If Antonio was in the New Testament, I'd have been a Sadducee or a Zealot. I already explained Zealot. Let me explain the Sadducees. Sadducees, they smart folks. They know how to read. So you know what the Sadducees did, Otis? The Sadducees say, hey, man, I ain't fit to keep being broke. This is some bull jive. Hey, talk to Rome, man. Get tell the governor to come here. Tell the governor to come here. Let me holler at the governor real quick. The governor came to Susan. Susan, we won't. All we want is taxes. Susan say, well, look, I can get the taxes for you. If y'all can just stop killing us, I'll get the taxes for you. I'll have the people come. They'll come to the temple. They'll give me the taxes, and we'll give them to y'all. If you think that ain't happened, this is the reason why Jesus walked into the temple and flipped this motor scooter over. He flipped over the tables because Antonio was shucking and jiving. See, Susan is a kind tax collector. Who's a tax collector inside the Bible? Grace? Matthew. Here's the deal. Susan would have collected the taxes. Antonio. Not Antonio. Antonio would collect the taxes. Antonio would collect the taxes, took some off top like the Sadducees was doing. Because I'd have got the taxes, but what happens in the temple? Everybody's bringing their very best, Otis. Because the Bible says, now remember, the Bible for them is just what you call the Old Testament. Bring your first fruit of your seed. How often, Grace? How often?
Year by year?
Year by year. The first yield of your fruit, year by year. So guess what's coming to the temple? The finest bread, the finest lamb, the biggest piece of chicken, the best piece of gold. And Antonio is a hustler. And Antonio would have said, okay, give Rome, bite off a big chunk of that gold.
Bro, you Zacchaeus. You Zacchaeus.
You got doggone right. You understand? I'd have said, Jerome, we don't like that. Hey, get Jerome out of here. Jerome too honest. Get him out of here. You bring in your gold. Gold is soft enough to bit off half that gold. Here you go, sir. I'd have kept 50% of their gold, and this is exactly what the Sadducees were doing. Exactly what that is doing. The Pharisees is Pastor Tony. What does Pastor Tony want to do? Pastor Tony want all y'all to go to heaven. And Pastor Tony, I'm explaining this because it's coming up in this text. I'm trying to get you out of this context. Pastor Tony is getting a bad reputation, but that's not what he's doing. Jesus literally said, unless your righteousness is like that of the Pharisees, you will not enter in. Jesus recognized that the Pharisees ain't out here tripping, because what are the Pharisees trying to do? The Pharisees are simply trying to bring back a sinless people so we can get our temple back, so we can get Rome for oppressing us for 400 years, because our Bible says he will return. And we were all waiting on the return. Elias. They're waiting on the return of David. It literally was told to them that David will come back, the Messiah will come back and destroy their oppressor. And all the Pharisees are trying to do is bring the temple to you. So they're saying, wash your hands. That's what the Bible says. Oh, honor the Sabbath is what the Bible says. The Pharisees were genuinely trying to do the right thing. The problem is, it's called legalism. It's when you do the right thing without grace. It's when you go, nope, the book says this, which now leads us into the second reading of this text. This time, I put the whole text up. So what happens is we see the blind man, the blind people, the disciples say, man, come on, man, what's up? He got seen, he comes back. He's clean. He comes back again. They say, man, how the hell your eyes got open, player? Man, I went to the pool. I don't know. And then right here is when he come back. This time, I'm explaining the text. Throw it to y'all. They brought the Pastor Tonys. That's why I did all that. They brought the Pastor Tonys to come see about this situation. Remember, the Pastor Tonys in first century Jewish expectations were good people. Y'all make fun of the Pharisees in church. Y'all try to make the Pharisees the bad guys. That's not true. It's just not hermeneutically true. The Pharisees were the people trying to get you to stop sinning so we can stop getting oppressed, so we can repent, so we can get delivered. And all Pastor Tony wants y'all to do is open your heart to God. Let him in so you can enter into your master's joy. That's all the Pharisees are trying to do. So what do the Deonas and them do? Pastor Tony, come look at this situation. This man that got healed on the Sabbath. It started to make sense now, ain't it, Jerome? It started to make sense. They brought Pastor Tony to the man who was formerly blind. Now, it was the doggone Sabbath when Jesus did all this stuff that's causing this trouble. So Pastor Tony said, now, wait a minute. I don't want to judge. Sir, I hear what they're saying. if you don't mind, would you tell us what actually happened here? It's right here. I'm not. So the Pharisees asked him again how he received his sight. I'm literally inside this text. Sir, I, I don't know what's going on. They brought me out here. Let me just hear from your side, sir. It's what's happening, Jerome. You understand? The man said, he said, it's that guy. You put him under my eyes and I can see. Now, here's the deal. Some Pastor Tonys acted like not Pastor Tony. Shame on them. This could not happen this way. Some other Pastor Tonys act like the Pastor Tony we know. Now, wait a minute, y'all. Wait a minute. If God is doing something, we ought to pay attention. That's this Pastor Tony. That's this one. No, but wait a minute now. Wait a minute. If God is doing something, maybe what's the harvest? Is the man can see? Well, wait a minute. God did something. And they look, and it says right here. And so some of the Pharisees, the man says, it's not from, oh, this is not from God. But I said, how can he do such great things? And then here, and there was a division amongst the Pastor Tonys. It says right there. The Antonio Pastor Tonys was like, nope. Check your harvest. This is not right. If this was right, we'd be free then. The Anthony Morocco Pastor Tonys. No, wait a minute, Antonio. Everything ain't like that. Just hold your horses. If God did something, maybe God is doing something different. God don't do nothing different. God today, same yesterday, today, and forever. Yeah, acting like I'm just trying to make this text make sense to you. Okay, all right. So now look, even the non-Christians are going, this is a damn good story, man. This is a good story. This is a good. I chose the chapter where it reads it. So here's the deal. So they go, well, wait a minute. Somebody asked a good question. Pastor that Pastor Anthony Morocco, he's saying, how can a sinner heal the blind? That ain't how God works. Where in the history of earth has God used somebody, not God, to do a healing as big as this? And the Pastor Antonio's go, I don't want to hear all that. The devil got blessings too. Y'all don't want to hear me. You know, I'm trying to. We got 4 more weeks in this, Jerome. If I keep giving you context, everybody gonna make sense. So the Pastor Anthony Morocco's, come on, I think God's doing something. The Pastor Antonio Smith says God ain't doing nothing until he tell us. You say what you want. That's how y'all feel in y'all churches. You say what you want right now. That's how you feeling. If right now, if on the news they tell y'all Jesus came back tomorrow, right now, y'all gonna say Jesus ain't tell me he coming back. Where is that? Turn on the TV. And literally, you're gonna see Jesus on TV, CNN. That ain't Jesus. That's the Antichrist.
I'm gonna say prove it.
Dia gotta prove it. Dia act like Antonio.
Where the trumpet sound like, that's what I'm going. That's how I'm coming.
Listen,
I ain't heard no trumpet. So.
I ain't heard no trumpet. God ain't told me he coming. And if God ain't told me, it ain't true. That's how we act. You say what you want. You can say what you want, but my church is the truth in a life.
We'll be raptured up. If Jesus comes, it'll be quick.
Y'all hear that?
We'll be raptured up.
It'll be Antonio's like, I don't see no rapture, so Jesus ain't here then.
Yeah.
I don't see no rapture. So go on, get out of here with it. And so what I'm trying to show here is that the same way we are proving this division amongst us, this is what was happening then, y'all. They're using their context to do what we're doing right now. I don't see no rapture. But in this time, they were saying, I don't see the Messiah. I don't see how, because what was told to Abraham, all the world will be saved. I don't see how all the world is being saved and how Israel is the king of all the world. So Pastor Tony go, well, maybe this Pastor Anthony Morocco goes, maybe God is doing it. Pastor Antonio Smith goes, God ain't doing nothing that ain't in his word. Pastor Anthony Morocco goes, but maybe you're not reading the word right, Antonio. You gonna tell me I'm not reading the word? Do you know how many degrees I got? That's what's happening in this text, and it's going to continue to happen. And there is not a single Bible scholar outside this call and inside this call that's going to say that I'm inaccurate. I'm being very entertaining about it, but I am not being liberal about what's happening inside this text. I'm just trying to make sure the children of I'm trying to make sure the babes in Christ and the actual 15 and 7-year-olds can actually understand the conversation too. And here's the thing. It's right here. It's right here. Deanna, is right here in the text. So they said to the blind man again, well, listen, I don't agree with Pastor Anthony Morocco, and Pastor Anthony Morocco don't agree with Pastor Antonio. They can't agree. Let's just ask the man himself what he thinks. He the one who got touched by him. And the man who got touched by him did the worst possible thing. If this man would have said, well, I don't know. If this man would have said, he got to be the devil, this whole chapter would have stopped. But this man gave
But Antonio,
possible answer.
he had to call him a prophet. Why? Because this man been blind since birth. And where is it written where a man who was blind from birth has ever been healed? He had to call him a prophet. Come on,
next week, we gonna start right there, Jerome. When the text clearly says, ain't no way in hell this man was blind from birth, and he been lying the whole time. It's right there. It's right here. The Jews did not believe that he had been blind and received his sight. That ain't till next week. I hope y'all think that I picked chapter 9 and called it Ministry Beyond Messy People for a reason. This chapter is so messy. So to end this part, we've had a deep discussion. 17. Here's what the man said, Ina. The man said, Ina go, well, let's just ask the man, because Pastor Antonio and Pastor Anthony arguing, they supposed to be our leaders. See what Jerome say. Well, he done took his side. Well, see what Monique say. He done took her side. Well, see, we can't get nothing. Everybody, y'all be quiet and ask him. And the blind man go, it sure look good to me. Now it's discussion time. All right, then. So now we got the big problem here, Deanna. This is Ministry Beyond Doubts. I want you to see that all that mucking and shucking and mud, everything I just dramatized did not change that blind man's motives or his response. I'm going to say it again. See, y'all want to think you strong, but you have no idea how much peer pressure is stronger. Imagine, there's some people on this call that would have went back to acting like they blind just to get out this situation. Because this is public. It ain't no Thursday night football. Well, this is Saturday because it's a Sabbath. Phil, ain't no Saturday night TV. Ain't no TV. This is TV. This is the hottest thing happening right now. And y'all know how we are. Y'all know this is a loud conversation they're having, right? I hope you don't think that they're having this conversation civilly. When in the history of mankind have we disagreed with each other respectably?
Never.
And then put that as church folk. We see church folk argue about theology respectably. Because as soon as you're a scholar, the first thing you're supposed to do is disagree. I disagree. Why you disagree? Because I got a degree. Degree means disagree. It's right there. This is a very loud conversation, and every last one of y'all seen the little viral post when the neighbors outside arguing, you see people outside with a vacuuming their grass, mopping their clothesline, dusting their car with a toothbrush. You know, anything to get closer to the mess. This is everybody going. And y'all know how it is when we get a crowd. What happened? Bigger crowd come. What's going on over there? And that's that man. That's that man that was blind. Blind man. You know, Calvin. I'm trying to tell you, you ain't listening. Calvin. Can see me. We can't. Let me see. Lift me up. This is talk of the town, y'all. This is so much of a big deal. It's written in scripture. So it's safe to say this is a big deal. It's since Jerome, we're talking about it damn near 3,000 years from now. You know what I'm saying? This is a big deal. Now, my point is, this man still said he's a prophet. But everybody who was supposed to say he's a prophet did not. Y'all got the floor. Who's going first? And then I'll direct y'all with questions I got written down. Who's going first?
Can we absorb what you said first? Like you went on a 49-minute rampage, so like we gotta absorb all that. Give us a minute.
Give us a minute. Fair enough. Fair enough. Ina said in the chat. Say it again.
I said to at least get a question.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. Ina said, I never understand when you go somewhere and there is enough room in the hall, everybody flocks together and spread out. Listen, Deanna, Grace, now, you know what? Forget you, Deanna. Grace, you've been in church your whole life. You've been in church your whole life. Whole life.
Yeah.
From your perspective, if an uneducated man walks in the church from a town with a very bad reputation and nothing good comes out of it. And Jerome, see where I'm going. His mama is rumored. His mama got pregnant out of wedlock.
And she was married.
And she convinced her husband to go marry her and cover it up. Am I the line yet, Pastor Tony Jerome? Okay, I'm just. And he from Nazareth. And during evening church, when the ushers say, don't come in yet, the pastor praying. And they standing by the door and saying, wait, not yet. And that man just walk in there anyway. And take the person with the worst reputation in the church and with a snap of a finger, make them the best conditioned person in the church. And then walk off before anybody know what's going on. And pastor still praying. Grace, what's going to happen in the church, if you don't mind? Just help me out.
First of all, you ain't going to be able to get past the pray no more. Everybody's sitting up here talking about what is going on. Who is this that healed?
We got a problem
right here.
We got a major problem because first off, Jesus don't exist. Let's keep him. I need y'all to keep something in mind. There's no such thing as Jesus to them. And since y'all already have a Jesus, Jesus ain't coming back and doing it again. Ain't nobody perfect for Jesus. So ain't nobody walking around here healing the blind.
Right.
So y'all got the same concept they have. So if it wasn't Jesus that healed this man in your church.
Oh, Dion put it in the chat. He's the devil.
He the devil. All right, D. Come on, let's talk. Come on. Go ahead, Pastor Tony.
And compounded that they also had a whole law that said that you weren't supposed to be doing this in the first place. I mean, there was literally one. I mean, because Jesus literally basically says, so if I see my neighbor in need on a Sabbath, I'm supposed to ignore him. Like he goes like kind of sarcastic about it. And the answer was, yeah, you were supposed to, under the law, ignore your neighbor. And so on top of this happening, think about it in our sense, it was changing everything that you knew. The status quo got changed. The whole concept of like, we're not supposed to eat this. We're not supposed to touch this. We're not supposed to talk to these people. I'm not supposed to help you out if it's a Sabbath. I'm not supposed to, walk across the street sideways if it's Tuesday. And it's like, that's the whole Old Testament. As you read the whole Old Testament, it's a whole bunch of laws about like basically God saying, we can't trust you to blow your nose, right? So we're just going to tell you how to do it. And they're going, there's some dude coming in.
We do that in the church right
side.
now. Y'all church got 50 rules about how you can't chew gum, how you can't do this, how you can't do that. And you go, that's because it's a holy, I see you, Deanna, it's a holy place. Nope, that's because we got a $7,000 carpet.
That's the way we've
and
always done it.
And what you're not going to do is mess up this carpet. Okay,
or you get
keep going, or you
get my favorite is, because that's the way we've always done it. Since great grandma walked through the door and, threw 10 cents and, in the collection plate. We've always done it that way. And that's basically what they were saying to him. They're like, whoa, dude, it's the Sabbath. We don't do this on the Sabbath, number one. Number two, dude's from the wrong side of the tracks. And number three, we're all getting a cut from this. So if that was really the biggest thing, is like Pilate was like, oh my gosh, if we don't do something, Rome's going to come replace me. And then you had all the leaders going, well, if Rome comes in and replaces some other dude who's not as nice as Pilate, we got some real problems. And so it was really, it was, the easiest thing was to eliminate the guy that was just saying you ain't doing it. Because his whole thing was a new commandment I give you. Whoa, wait a second. You're changing the rules.
God's supposed to be giving out commandments. Who the hell is this guy giving out commandments?
Yeah, we don't get any new commandments. We haven't gotten any new commandments since some guy went up a mountain and came down later with some stone tablets. How many thousand years ago?
That's a whole 2,000 years before they got a new commandment. And here's this Antonio guy running this cult talking about, I'm going to give you a new commandment.
But we do it. We do it today. Well, it doesn't fit the whatever. He wasn't wrong, because he literally says, so if I see my neighbor in need, I'm supposed to ignore him. Like he was just saying, common sense tells me I'm supposed to go help somebody in need, regardless of the day of the week. Like, I saw a blind guy who was in need. I helped him. Like, stop, making things so difficult. But it was this whole, but if you say that, God is with us and not in the temple, we don't get the best stuff. If you say that I can find God without coming to whoever's in charge, then what are we doing here? We're not going to get all the best stuff anymore. So the whole system was thrown up in the air, because
Antonio,
the system was broke.
This man had to be a sinner because he was blind from birth. He had to be a sinner. He had to be.
And God ain't out here punishing good people, Jerome. God ain't out here punishing good people.
And now this man is coming and healed him on the Sabbath of all day. Come on,
Sabbath.
He's blind from birth because of reincarnation.
Look, so he was a piece of crap in his before life.
Well, but even the woman at the well. Right? Even look at the woman at the well.
Don't you go, Pastor? Don't you go there, boy. Don't you go there.
Jesus talks to her, and she's and she's like, "You're not supposed to talk to me. I'm not a Jew." That's right. Go read the books. Go. One of my favorite things in Acts is, don't call what I've cleaned unclean. Like, that is one of my favorite, because it's like, stop, like trying to fit everything to what you think it's supposed to fit. Like, don't do that. And that was, you're supposed. Wait a second. We're now preaching to people that aren't under the law. We're not preaching to Hebrews. Jesus is going to talk to some lady at the well, and and she's literally talking about, I'm not. That's why she says I'm not fit to eat the crumbs off the table, because her people were treated like dirt. Her whole analogy is, we're treated like dirt by your people. You're not supposed to talk to us. Literally, you go through the whole Bible and it talks about don't marry other people that are outside of your group because they're not clean. And
it
here
says
comes
that
this
all the
guy.
way up to 1 Corinthians chapter 7. It says it all the way up to the end.
And so here comes this guy going, I came for all the world. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. It doesn't say for God so loved the world that he, or for God so only loved the people in, Hawaii. So here he is quoting this whole thing, and they're going, no, our law doesn't say that. Our law says we're better. Our law says we have a covenant. Our law says that Abraham, our father Abraham, has all these promises, and it's not supposed to include anybody else. That was their whole thinking. And so now you got this dude coming along and stirring up. But we see it today. Anytime somebody comes into a church or any place else and says, I've got a new way of doing something that might work, everybody goes, well, we've done it that way since 1492. Why do we change it? It ain't broke. But maybe it really was, because what was really broke was they weren't helping each other out, but they thought they were okay. They thought they were okay. They see a blonde guy come along and they're like, because I guarantee you, if it had happened the next day, if it happened on, so this would have been Saturday. So if it had happened on Sunday, the first day of the week, they'd have been a little ticked off, but they wouldn't have been quite as ticked off, because they would have been like, well, we're not quite sure who this guy is, but at least he didn't do it on the Sabbath, because, he kept that day the way it was supposed to. So this is a little different, but it ain't that different. So we can kind of look the other way. But it's all about changing the narrative. And anytime anybody tries to change the narrative, because we're so programmed to say, this is the way I've always done it, because grandpa did it this way and dad did it this way, I have to do it this way. And what we don't look at is times they change it. And that's all Jesus is saying. Times are changing. Y'all been looking for somebody to come along and save you. You haven't been listening to what I said. He literally says, I speak in parables so that those that are learned would understand. Like, I'm trying to literally tell you in ways that I would tell you that things are changing, and you don't want to hear it because we've always done it where, hey, neighbor, I'll come help you on Saturday or on Sunday, but on Saturday, I'm sitting at my table and I'm staring at a wall and I'm having a meal, and that's all I'm doing because that's all I'm supposed to do, because that is my good and faithful service. And the whole idea was times are changing. That worked when you were starting to get you to where you could understand what you needed to do, not to always do it that way. Because I look at, we'll take this from a biblical sense. I look at the Old Testament of God saying, hi, let me introduce myself. Let me tell you who I am. Just like if you're a parent, you tell your kid there's 1,000 rules because you don't know if your kid's going to be smart enough to not put their hand on the stove. So you literally have to have a rule that says, don't put your stupid hand on the stove because it's hot. That's literally what God is telling them, is like, hey guys, I don't really trust you because every time that I try to, you go and you build a golden calf. Like, you saw a mountain on fire, but you went and built a golden calf and you wanted to go back to Egypt. Like, literally, I don't trust you. To the point where now, as they got older, now he's looking at them like, hey, you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, you're big boys and girls now. Now I'm going to change the idea. And the idea is this, that you can work out your own salvation with much fear and trembling. You don't need me to tell you don't put your hand on the stove, because you should have learned better. But they're going back and going, no, but not putting my hand on the stove just kept me from getting burned. So I'm just going to keep doing that, even though this way might be better. And this way don't really work anymore. That's what the whole thing was. He changed the whole thing. It's a programming thing. We do it today. I am programmed to do it this way.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it.
And that's what it is.
Yeah, we are absolutely about to talk about it. Deanna, go ahead. Because y'all feel have this. Plenty of conversation. Take as long as you want. But we're going to talk about what he just said, for sure.
Okay, so I like how he broke down the Bible. In the beginning, with all the laws, God was like, okay, look, let me tell you who I am. This is what you do and don't do. And then he's like, okay, you basically know, so look, let me be a little lenient. Actually, this is the first time I ever thought about that. Thank you for that one. So messy snitches got Jesus killed is all I heard. That's all I heard.
That's an accurate statement. It's actually worse than that. It's the best way that I can define how Jesus was killed, which would be deemed anti-Semitic if people wanted to be, is the hangman in the crowd that I bring up about, because psychologists call it groupthink. Now, once the group starts doing something and everybody, you shut off your thinking and then you do it. So when your favorite football team win and everybody's flipping over cars in celebration, you do it too. You get what I'm saying? There's stuff like that. So you have 10% of the people saying crucify him, but since this is cool, let me say it too. And let me say it too. And then but here's the biggest, let's just say sin for a second. Here's the biggest sinner. The person in the crowd who said nothing. Because all it took was one voice to say, wait, y'all. This is why Martin Luther King says, I had it in my head and I'm forgetting. He says, silence to injustice is injustice or something like that. I can't remember. But it makes you implicit and complicit with whatever is going on. So if I'm silent while you're getting raped, I am raping you too. This is equally as bad. Keep going though.
I don't.
There's a lot here. I picked it for a reason.
This may be completely surface me. Actually, this is not maybe. This is completely surface me.
Good. That's gonna make for good conversation.
Because if I was Jesus, I wouldn't come back. I'll let you niggas figure it out by yourself.
Oh yeah, that's because I'm not sure if that's surface, because first off, if I was God, I'd have been fixed y'all a long time ago. You only got like a million times to disrespect me. Y'all done messed up a million times before you was 2. So at this point, and we talking about when you was born, we ain't even talking about 1500 and 1400 and 1300, and we ain't talking about BC. As soon as y'all created the bow and arrow, kill these fools. Let me start over.
I'm just like, okay, we talking about ministry in messy people. Jesus did the greatest ministry, and there is no duplication of that ever, because I can pretty much damn near guarantee you ain't nobody gonna do that kind of ministry in mess. Because I just, like, I wouldn't even want to come back.
I don't disagree with you.
I don't know. I guess I did.
But
yes, we are all messy. That's why I wouldn't want to come back.
His thoughts are not our thoughts, and his ways are not our ways. So
no, they're not.
So that is why we can see on a human level, I wouldn't come back for none of y'all. I wouldn't have even died. How about that?
But you just proved her point. You just proved her point.
But
his ways are higher than our ways, and so we ain't trying.
Yes. But she just said she wouldn't even die for us, and I wouldn't have died for y'all. If I'd have died, I'd have died gloriously. This is what I would have did. Let me hold on, Deanna. This is what I would have did, because my ego is stupendous. Let me tell you how I would have died on the cross real quick. I got you down. Let me tell you how I would have died on the cross. As soon as y'all hit that nail in my hand and they lift me up, I'd have did my very best. I said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what to do. I'd have went to my little funky 2 or 3 things, and then I would have said, oh, y'all sleeping on me. Let me glow and levitate off this cross real quick, show y'all who the hell I am. And I'd have started floating and glowing. I'd have turned to dark, and I say, I told y'all, stop playing with me. Kill somebody. Now, but let me get back down here before I take it too far. And then got back on the cross. But I'd have made a whole spectacle first, so you killing the Son of God. I wouldn't have died and left no damn doubt. You hear me? That's why I'm not in the Bible. You understand? That's why I'm on Thursday call.
You still doing the most because they would have had to find me. I
Let's
was
say 10,000 agents would have got called out. I'd have
Keep
going,
like,
Deanna.
I would be like, go heal him. I'd be like, okay. He would have went back how you see because of the prophet. What prophet? Where he go? I don't know. Where she went? She done disappeared because they gonna have to find me.
But to be fair to every,
is this a part of me is like niggas. Like I just
appropriate response.
It's y'all so focused on rules and regulations.
That's coming back up. That's coming back. As a matter of fact, that's coming back up. Keep going. And I'm gonna get past the tongue. It's coming back up though.
Y'all so focused on freaking rules and regulations. This dude was blind since birth and now he can see. And y'all so focused on the fact that, oh, he ain't supposed to be doing that. Only the devil do that kind of stuff. We got to kill him. You got to kill him. But if he got healed and you within the vicinity of his healing, don't you think that's going to fall somewhere on you too somewhere?
We show enough to talk about it. I know that much.
It's just,
I got a question on that.
Okay, go ahead, Otis, and pass it to him.
If that were to happen today, I said I was blind, and then I could see all of a sudden. Would y'all believe that I was blind from birth, or do you think I just made it up?
Yeah. Well, if it happened today, I'm gonna think you made it up because it doesn't happen today.
They said the same thing. The first verse we talk about next week is he making it up. No, the scooter wasn't blind. Give me his parents out here. That actually happens. This man grew up in the city.
They knew this man, so they know this man been blind since birth.
No, but there's also a lot of con men out there too.
There you go. He been back
out here today.
There's a whole great movie about that called The Prestige with Hugh Jackman and Batman.
The guy that plays Batman. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. It's a great movie. It's a great Otis, you bringing me. I got a bunch of little points here. Otis, let's stick with Otis real quick, and then Deanna and Pastor Tony, y'all go back and forth. This Otis brings up a good point, and because I'm trying to get y'all. Our tendency is y'all looking at this Bible or the story as the good person in the story. I'm trying to get y'all to do what Otis is. Otis is going, wait a minute, blind and now see. We wouldn't accept that today. And I'm trying to get you to see that you wouldn't have accepted it either.
Today, though, someone put mud on your eyes today. Someone put mud on your eyes and you can miraculously see.
That's the same
energy. You can miraculously see.
That's the same energy they had. Look, she's right. She's saying today because we know so much, but here's the deal. They knew so much then. The world didn't start in 23 AD. They had history too. They had books too. They had ancestors too. They had science too. And they were at the most, here's the crazy part. They were the smartest, most technologically savvy people who had ever been born, just like us.
I'll mute my mic.
No, keep it up because you know you added great feedback. Yes, sir. Go ahead, Phil, Deanna, and then Pastor Tony.
Yeah, this conversation reminds. I always like to ask, especially preachers, why do we have nothing written by Jesus? Why didn't he write anything down? Well, your path is different than my path. Deanna's path is different than Pastor Tony's path. So Jesus consciously didn't want to write something down because if he did, we know Jesus wrote this. You have to do this.
Yep.
So it all comes down to free will and faith.
They don't even know exactly what
if you knew. Excuse me, I'm talking.
Yeah.
If you knew exactly what the deal was, you wouldn't need faith.
Yeah.
And then George Bernard Shaw says all great truths begin as blasphemies.
That's true. That's very true.
What were you going to say?
Well, they don't even know what he wrote down in the dirt when he was talking to that woman. And he was like, "Oh,
you know what he wrote?
Cast the first stone."
You know what he wrote?
What he wrote?
You know, they back then when they took it, they bring you topless. So he went great rack.
The text does say that they brought her out as she was. The text, it caught in the act of adultery. It does not say, and they took her home, let her robe herself. And no. So it's quite believable. Great rack was in the ground. No, Ebony, you have a strong point to which you would agree with Phil. Like, hey, we don't even know what he said in the dirt. Phil, you have an even stronger point. Can you imagine if Jesus said, do this? Can you imagine? Like, there's a bunch of times, I got you down to you next. There's a bunch of times when they say, Jesus, who should we pay? Caesar or God? Can you imagine what would happen if Jesus answered that question? Either way, Grace, it'd be terrible. It'd be terrible. Jesus said, Dion, forget Caesar, just give all your money to the church. It would be a Pastor Tony, not Anthony Morocco, Antonio Smith. It'll be a Pastor Tony going, did not the doggone Bible tell you to give all your money to the church? It's written in red, Dion. All that damn job stuff you're doing, you get your job. You forsake your dwelling, Dion. Trust that the Lord will provide for you, Dion, and give us all your money. It's the truth. Because Jesus said it. Go ahead, Dion.
Don't say it, Dion. Don't say it, Dion.
All right. So I do want to say one thing. All right. So like in the South, churches do things one way. In the North, churches do things one way. All right. So in my former life, I was a pastor's wife.
This is gonna be good then.
I was a pastor's wife, right? And so you come from the North and go to the South, and they wear white in the South. All the like deaconesses and the preachers, and then in the North, it's just the nurses that wear white. Now, in the South, there's no nurses. So I personally, I felt like Jesus, okay? Because when like we go on the retreats and things, I'm in my pink baseball cap and jeans, and it's time to just get real. They're in their finest to-dos, high heels, and it is so different. And it's so funny because when one time we had like the cookout for the summer, and some of the people were coming up to me. They're like, we're just so glad you're real. We can't talk to the other ones. They just don't understand.
That up. I'm so glad you brought it up. I was just about to tell you to tell them, not tell them how a first lady get treated. I was just about to keep on going.
So it was like I totally understood them. I was I don't know. For me, you're just supposed to get in there and get it done. It doesn't matter how you look, what you do. You just go in there and you bring people in. So like even now in the church that I'm in, we're in the heart. You ever notice that like churches and ballparks and things are in the hood? All right. So our church is in the hood.
That's right.
And
most churches are. Most churches are in low income areas.
And then they stay in their church. So like our church is supposed to go out there, and we're supposed to walk and bring the people in. And as we walk and bring the people in, I noticed that their attitude towards them was holier than thou. And that doesn't bring people in.
Write that down too.
What brings people in is you can relate, that you're there. I don't care if you got a bottle of water, and you're saying, here, how you can have this. It's how you present it, So I'm sorry, but Jesus was just that way. He was with the people, and the people wanted him.
It's true. The book of Luke actually says that. The book of Luke, Jesus himself says, now y'all done killed John for not sitting with sinners and for not drinking with sinners. But the Son of Man come drinking and sitting with sinners, and y'all praise him. That's in Grace. Find that text for me. That is in the Bible. That's in there. That is in the Bible. Very good points. You brought up two great things that I'm going to be every time. So when every time I say something, I got a whole little, I got about 8 things down here I'm gonna bring up in a little bit. But good job, and I'm so glad you let them know that as a first lady, you know. Yeah, it's a little different for you. You understand?
It's a little different for you.
A lot.
I mean, there's people. I can't talk to everybody. I can't do a lot of things. I remember coming here to the South, and I'd sit down, and they'd be like, "Oh, here, have this hanky," And it's like I have to be like, "Oh," and
that's right.
It just, oh man, it was.
Yeah. Yeah, God bless Pastor Tony's wife. God bless her.
Yes, that was before anything. That's just for putting up with me.
Yeah, right.
And then she got to put up the church too.
Look, Monique used to make me, she still does, she used to make me laugh though. Monique say all the time, God called you, God ain't called me. Look at the shaking of the head, y'all.
I totally understand that.
God ain't called me, God called you.
Yep. Yep. But then you got to put on that little happy face,
That's I know, right? Go ahead, Deanna. Go ahead. You had some feedback. I got all this stuff written down. We ain't missing nothing.
Oh no, I'm done. I just I get
it's crazy, ain't it?
I get what everybody's. I guess because I'm a little more educated than I used to be. My frustration is we're supposed to be Jesus like, but look how the hell y'all treated him. So why in any way, shape, form, or fashion would I even want to deal with you?
Okay, you said something. I want to address what you're saying right now. Will you finish?
Yes.
Okay. I want to. Oh yeah, but Grace, if it is, it's about right. That's about right. Okay. Oh, there it is, Grace. Where is that? There it is. For John the Baptist has come eating no bread and drinking no wine, and you say he's a demon. But the Son of Man came eating and drinking. And you say, look at him, a glutton and a drunkard and a friend of tax collectors and a sinner, yet wisdom justified by all those teachers. Okay, stop right there. Grace, Deanna, everybody, I'm going to address something Deanna just said real quick. And tell them real quick for cohesion, Deanna, tell them the last thing you just said. I want you to say it. The last thing you just said for cohesion purposes. It's frustrating because
I'm supposed to be like Jesus, but look how y'all treated him. Look how we treated him.
Okay, keep going.
If we treated him like that, why the hell I want to help?
Why I want to help? Look what we do. Okay.
Why do I want to help?
This is the problem with the church right now. I'm not going to attack the church. I'm actually going to attack government. But this is the problem with the church right now. It's because people my age are looking at Kenneth and going, you don't act like what the hell you made me sit down and study every day. That's why we leave the church. It's the truth. You can't tell me why my generation ain't leaving the church because I am in my generation and I left the church. So you can't tell me why I ain't leaving the church when I purposely retired from it. Literally, I know why. Because I know, now I'm going to attack the government, because I know there was a time, I'm 43. Am I 43? Yeah, I'm 43. I just had a birthday. Wow. Just a new birthday. I'm 43. When I was growing up, whoever lost the election, shut the fuck up. Was that too strong? Was that too strong? Because I feel like when you lost, you tucked your tail, you endorsed whoever was going to become president, and it was a peaceful exchange of power, which makes America great. Now, when we lose elections, a little different, Phil. It's a witch hunt. It's bad, and can't start with Trump. I cannot start with Trump. And I want my ego wants me to start in 2008 with the election of the first black man, because that's when the Tea Party started. All my ego and the author of black books want me to tell you that's when it started, but that'll be a lie too.
What did it start with?
Antonio,
yes,
I'm
sir.
still upset with not Netanyahu, because he came over here and went to the Senate and wouldn't shake Barack Obama's hand. I still don't like that guy.
That's 100%. That actually happened.
My bad.
And here's the deal, Pastor Tony. I want to say it started with Trump, but that's a lie. And I want to say it started in 2008, but that's a lie. We all know when it started, whether we recognized it or not. And it was Al Gore and George Bush. And I joined the army at that time. And for 8 months, I did not have a commander-in-chief. I need a doggone recount. We nobody here, if you're old enough, you cannot disagree with that. And now, every time we have an election, we need a recount. Now, here's the deal. I said I'm not protect church, protect the government. And I'm going to address something Deanna said. It's, why you acting like that? And I want to address this. We act just like these people in the Bible. We just don't know it. Because we're not doing it over bread and water, Susan. We're doing it over red and blue. Taxes and no taxes. we think because the problem got more expensive, our spirituality got higher. It might be quite the opposite. It might be we're proving that we keep finding ways to hate each other. We might be dumber spiritually than we've ever been in the history of mankind, because now we walk around with smart devices, supercomputers. We can access anything. No medicine work. I don't call medicine witchcraft. I don't look at Mount Olympus and think they're gods up there with golden roads and a dude named Zeus. I don't do that. I got like binoculars. I can see ain't nothing up there but vegetation. And all that intelligence. And we still got racism. Can you imagine? Think about this for a moment. We know everything that we need to know. And we still know Dion better not open up her motor scooting mouth and start preaching to a man. Oh, y'all didn't like that, huh? If you below the Mason-Dixon line, that made some sense. If you above it, Antonio, you can't say that. She just said she's been on both sides of the line. Down here in the South, and Florida is very South, she better shut her mouth. And when it's time to do the women's program and ain't nothing but women there, you know you get that podium. You don't get that pulpit.
Oh.
All this intelligence we got.
Watch yourself.
I don't make the rules. I'm just observing them, Pastor Tony. All this intelligence we got. And if I tell y'all that 20 years ago, Phil would have said there is no way on the planet, Antonio, that people are going to get upset about anything. That's what Phil would have said. Now we have social media giving us the chance to get upset at anything. In 1990, there is no way on the planet Phil would have said, you know what's going to happen? People are going to get so outraged that every time somebody do something wrong, we're going to ruin their careers and take it from them. Oh, and these vaccines that literally stop polio, that thing that was killing people, polio, smallpox, chickenpox, we know these things work. By the way,
putting you in an iron lung. Putting you in an iron lung.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's just too easy. We stopped doing so many things. You don't have to cook anymore. They'll deliver it to your front door. You know, you don't have to get up to change the channel on the TV. You don't have to do that. You don't even have to bend over to put your shoes on. We got shoes now that have the shoe horn in the back. You don't even have to bend over to put your shoes on anymore.
Skechers just came out with some brand new ones that you don't have to do that. I just saw the commercial yesterday.
Yeah. We don't have to go to the library. We don't have to go to the...
We don't have to go to the library so much, Phil. The damn library is almost a museum at this point.
We're not going to have to drive. We're going to have self-driving cars.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Libraries are so unused, they are now historical landmarks. Ain't no Dewey Decimal System no more. Some of y'all too young for that, my bad.
It's all digitized, and it's so bad that they now give away books. Like, I have like this whole section in my personal library that has the index little thingy on them because the library was just giving away books, and I just went through and like, well, I want this one, I want that one.
Well, the reason why I wanted to piggyback off the other rant, we did that rant off what you said, Deanna, is because there's two ways to look at this, Pastor Tony. We're either smarter than those people in the New Testament, and we're dumb as hell, or those people were smarter than us, and we still dumb as hell. Either way, we ain't learned, and we got all the mistakes written down. We haven't. We have not learned, and we got all the mistakes written down. I got a few.
You making me feel stupid, Antonio. Stop.
Well, you know, maybe. It's not my attempt. Not right now. But okay, so I give you that option. I can tell you what I'm gonna say 15 minutes from now, because this is how I teach. I take every week I flip. I do a narrow thing, then I do a big thing, narrow, big. But each time I teach, there's always one point that I'm making, and I'll say it up front with an illustration and kind of hide it in most cases, and then I'll illuminate it at the end, only because I want y'all to struggle and conversate throughout it. So I can tell you right now why I'm having this conversation today, or I could wait 15 minutes. Grace will let you decide. Now or 15 minutes?
We want to keep the party going.
So you just wait 15 minutes and then tell you? Or
no,
give it to you now?
Now. Yeah, give it to me.
We love the Bible, but hate the Lord is why I'm having this conversation.
What? That is true.
And I'm going to prove it with this text because the text proves it. We love the Bible. In fact, let me show you. Just, I got it bold and everything. Grace, read that. It's in the chat.
We love the Bible, but hate the Lord. Love the scripture, but never love that man.
They literally, the whole conversation about this text up to this point is the damn scriptures say Sabbath. And what we're not going to do. And ain't nobody pause, Susan, and go, but is he okay? Wait, they love their scriptures so much, they never went back and loved that man. And here's the crazy part. That man does not get any love until like the second to last verse of this whole chapter. And guess what happened? You know, let me pull the chapter up. This is so freaking crazy. This is so bad, Susan. that this I'm gonna punch. It's kind of a buzzkill because I'm gonna tell you at the end of the story. But since Pastor Tony been preaching about this for 55 years, and they've been talking about it for 2,000 years, it's not like I'm doing a spoiler alert, Jerome. It's in there. You understand? He said, "I ain't been." Look, all these verses.
55 yet.
All these verses. Watch this here. When Jesus heard he had been cast out, I'm coming back to that. I gave y'all this. This is the worst thing that happens in all this text over and over. And having found him, okay, and having found him. So Jesus had to find this man. Because here's the deal. What y'all miss in this text is Jesus healed this man and disappeared. Jesus ain't nowhere in this mess. Jesus don't come back to the end. And here's the deal. Jesus don't come back to the end, Jerome. And this man do not get any love until Jesus said to him, you've seen him and you speak it with him. And then the tone of this text changes, Susan, to empathy. Jesus said, for judgment, I came into this world, and for those who do not see may see, and those who may see become blind. Some of those Pharisees heard that were near him, and he said these things to them. He said, and we are also blind. Jesus said to them, if you were blind, you would have no guilt. But now that you say we see your guilt, now that you see, your guilt remains. And this man does not get any love about his well-being until verse 35, and we ain't nowhere near there. So when I tell you we love the Bible, but hate the Lord, that's not a hot Twitter statement I'm trying to make. I'm giving you this text that we love the scripture so much, Susan, but when it's time to do the least of these, my brothers, we do not. Therefore, I can definitively, explicitly, boldly say that even today, we love the scripture, but we don't really love the Lord. We love what the Lord can do for us. We love how the Lord makes us feel secure when we quote the Lord's word. But in order to love God, there's only one way to love God. In spirit and in truth. Okay, let's rephrase that. There's only one way to love God.
You've done it to the least of these, my brethren. You've done it to me.
The only way to love God is to love your brother. You are not allowed to love God and hate people. If you don't get along with people, you do not get along with your God. Because your God, y'all ready for this, is only found in people. Allow me to explain. Somewhere in the Bible, everywhere, there's a tabernacle, Exodus, that eventually becomes a temple, Samuel, David, Kings. And inside this temple, here's what happened. There was a Holy of Holies in which side Pastor Tony could not even get in, even though he preaches and praises the Lord and he worships the spiritual truth. The only time that Pastor Tony could get to the most high of the most high and the holiest of the holiest, Pastor Tony had to be the high priest, but Pastor Tony is not the high priest. Pastor Tony is one of the people who work for the high priest, so Pastor Tony doesn't have access to God. God had access to him. That's your text. That's your whole Old Testament. So Jesus, God, and Holy Spirit say, we can't have that. Jesus, I'm going to need you to give up the ghost. That's what King James says. I'm going to need you to sacrifice your spirit. And here's what happened. Ask Susan, she'll tell it to you. As soon as he died, this guy got a little back, and the veil split from top to bottom inside the temple in the Holy of Holies, doing one or two things. Both of these are true. It just depends on what you need in your life. It either let God rush out to Enoch, or let Enoch rush into God. That's the text. I ain't got nothing to do with that, but I'm going to keep on going. But here's the problem. God was like, hey, I don't want to be in no temple. I'm going to make them my temple. So as long as they are filled with the Spirit, ain't nobody filled with the Spirit at Tony Yoda, ain't Christian, ain't Jew. I'm here, book of Acts. Everybody get filled with the Spirit, especially the Gentiles. So the Spirit, God now says, man, I could have 8 billion temples. There's 8 billion other people on the planet today in 2024. I got 8 billion whole temples out here. So here's the deal. If you were now the temple of God, how you know you're the temple of God? Because ain't no temple standing. They right now, as we speak right now, 3 different religions are walking around where the temple was, fighting over who's gonna get the temple. Because they all got what's called eschatology. The Muslims say that the Jesus, who is Jesus, the Muslims say it's Jesus himself, who is the Messiah, is going to defeat the Antichrist. He is going to then get mortally wounded, die at the feet of the temple, and usher in 1,000 years of peace. That is exactly Muslim eschatology means, study of end times. That's actually one version of the Christian eschatology. There's 3 different ways to view Christian eschatology. That's one of them. So if you don't believe in the rapture, you're gonna get the 1,000 years of peace, or you're gonna get the rapture, and then people are gonna be down here to have another chance, and then it's gonna usher in 1,000 years of peace. There's a third one that's not relevant for this conversation. Jews.
That's the tribulation. After the rapture and we're taken up, the people that don't believe, they're here in the tribulation, and it's going to be hell on earth.
Y'all hear from there's 3 different ways to look at eschatology from a Christian perspective. That's one of them. So here's the deal. The Jews got a different view. The Jews, they don't have a view of heaven or hell. Hell is not a Jewish thing. It's just hell is not a Jewish, hell is only a Christian thing. It's not a Jewish thing. It's not a Muslim thing. It's not a nobody thing, but Christians. Jews know that their Bible has not been fulfilled yet. Christians have a way of saying this. We call it dispensationalism. It means that the dispensation God has passed out has not been fully passed out. Now, Christians believe something called here and not yet. It has been, 66% of Christians believe that it has been passed out, and anything that will continue to be passed out will be passed out in heaven, or whatever you want to call heaven. Dispensationalists, which, dispensationalists when you see them, John Piper is a dispensationalist. The whole Dallas, anybody that comes from Dallas Baptist is dispensationalist. Dispensationalist says that God, who has kept his word forever, has not made Israel the land of where the world would get its peace. This is why America backs Israel to this day. Not trying to bring up politics, just trying to get you to see why we do what we do. Now, dispensationalists say, okay, well, God made promises. You see them all in the book of Job. Everywhere we call the new covenant. That is Joel, that is Ezekiel, that is Malachi, right? All these places to where there's going to be a new thing happening. You see it in the book of, in those books I just named. Dispensationalists say, well, God ain't done yet. And God's not going to be done until Hebrews, Israel, his original people, are kings again. That's dispensationalism. That explains so many political, and it explains so many things in politics today. So many different things. Pastor Tony, you said that's you? You got a little bit. Okay, so he said that's Pastor Tony a little bit. And that makes sense. There's nothing wrong with that. It got really popular in 1910 or something like that. There's nothing wrong with that. So, what then? what does that leave? What are you saying, Antonio? I'm saying right now in Africa, you can call it Middle East all you want to, in Africa, that they boarded off and made something else. These folk are fighting right now over whose Bible, they don't call it Bible, whose Bible is going to be true, which now makes me talk to you. We know, to borrow from Bob Proctor, we know the second to, we know the minute to the second of when we can land something on the moon. 100%, I kid you not, this is a real thing. Please look it up if you're not sure. I swear to you, right now, as my raspy voice is talking, right now, this is 100% facts. You folk that grew up with 9 planets like me, who know what I'm talking about? You folk who grew up with 9 planets in the solar system like me, I'm about to knock your noodle off your head with what I'm about to say right now. In about 2 weeks, I kid you not, in 2 to 4 weeks, Earth will have 2 moons. And if this moon does not move fast enough, we will permanently have 2 moons. I kid you not. Look it up. Somebody who has the privilege to share the screen, look it up. I swear to you, this is happening now. So I'm trying to get you to see that we so damn smart, Pastor Tony, that we know when the moon is coming. But we ain't smart enough not to hate each other. Get out of here. I set that up. Oh, I set that up. Oh, I set that up. We're so smart, Kenneth, that we 100% know a freaking moon is coming. Do you understand? When? Please tell me when in the history of mankind that we know, oh, a moon coming. That don't make no sense. That sounds like somebody smoked some real good weed and said that. What you say, Ebony?
I said this is gonna be like a daytime moon, a nighttime.
Oh, it's gonna be here. It's gonna be here long enough to possibly stay.
Is it from Mercury, Venus?
No, a real moon.
It just popped out of the sky. Like whose moon was it?
That's a good question.
Another moon, a planet moon, and it's
that's a good question.
Over here.
That's a good question. I got multiple answers. If I don't know, I'm smart enough to know I don't know. Myself. Search it up. If I do know, I'm smart enough to know. Either way, it's a damn moon coming. Go ahead, Otis.
I was going to say that it's a slow-moving asteroid that may be caught by the Earth's gravity if it doesn't escape it.
What y'all think? What y'all think the moon is? Y'all think the moon is like bright?
Cheese.
Yeah, cheese. The moon is an asteroid stuck in our gravitational pull that reflects the sun. And since it continuously rotates with us, so as the Earth is rotating and the moon is rotating, it's why we never see the other side of the moon. We're continuously seeing the same side of the moon. Yeah, we can never get to see the back side of the moon because it's always rotating with us. Just think about having a big ball in your hand and it's tethered to a string and you just start swinging in a circle. If you keep swinging fast enough, you're going to always see the same side of the moon. You're never going to be able to see the other side. There is a meteor, as Otis said, on its way. And if it don't move fast enough, y'all. wait, because I know where I'm going. I'm sorry. That's twice I laugh at myself. My bad. But because I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going. And it's going to really mess up. Do you understand when we get 2 moons? When we get 2, it doesn't matter what's going to happen. When we get 2 moons, y'all going to have a real deal religious crisis.
It says it's going to be here for 6 months.
Oh, wait
Susan. A minute. my eyesight wasn't good. 2 months.
2 months. Susan, listen to me, y'all. Y'all got scriptures, and all y'all scriptures say one moon. I just need y'all to process this information. The one moon will drip like blood. I need you to process this information. And the moment y'all, that's why I kept laughing. The moment y'all get 2 moons, you're going to have a serious problem. You're going to go, now, of course, many of your great preachers are going to say, listen, that ain't got nothing to do with that. It's happened before. When Rome fell and Hebrews did not, this is about 481 AD, Hebrews did not become kings again. It took Augustus of Hippo to say, no, that's not y'all reading the Bible wrong. There's 2 kingdoms, the kingdom of man and the kingdom of God. You don't have to believe me. Literally 90% of your theology today flows from Augustus of Hippo, who pretty much Platonized. He took pretty much the understanding of Plato and put it inside of Christianity. That's 100% true. 90% of your theology is St. Augustine of Hippo. I promise. I'm not joking. Look it up. Look it up. I'm not joking. It's the truth. I just showed on this two Grace, it's 2. Tanya just read what Tanya just posted in the chat. I'm not joking. Remember, the moon is just an asteroid. Pastor said it's a Death Star. That's right. Read it, Deanna. Read what Tanya put in the chat.
An asteroid called 2020 CD3 was bound to Earth for several years before leaving the planet's orbit in 2020. And another called 2022 NX1 became a mini moon of Earth in 1981 and 2022 and will return again in 2051. 2024 PT5, which is larger than some of the other mini moons, will also return to the Earth's orbit in 2055. So we'll have 2 moons 4 years apart in 2051 and in 2025. I'm sorry. I was looking at
if we ain't careful, we're going to fool around and have 4 moons. Listen, I'm trying to get y'all to see something. I'm trying to get you to see that every 72 years, we know Halley's Comet is coming. And we don't just know that with science. Well, science, yeah. We don't know that with computers. You can see Halley's Comet in 500 AD. Antonio, what's your point? We so smart, Jerome. But we know it's gonna be a whole second moon. And all you faithful Christians, y'all gonna have a real culture shock when that happened. Because y'all had a culture shock when the Pope, this new Pope, the Pope we have now, he's not new no more. I mean, it's been like a decade. But this Pope we have now, they asked him. It was I know it was Antonio Smith who asked him that. Pope, Your Honor, we know y'all got the oldest library in the history of man. Tell us about aliens and tell us what's gonna happen with aliens if we find aliens. And the Pope made things worse, Kenneth, and said, well, if we find aliens, I think they can get baptized. Don't take my word. Will someone Google it, please? I'm joking. I'm a millennial. I would never say nothing that can't be Googled. It's the truth. It's the truth that the Pope said if we get aliens, we can give them the gospel. Now, this is a big deal. The reason why this is a big deal because the largest bank in the history of mankind and today is the Catholic Church. The largest private property in the world in mankind and today is the Catholic Church. The Vatican is what you call it. And the largest library, the oldest library on the planet is the Catholic Church. And it seems to be, this is what happened right after that. It seems to be the Pope went in there, read some stuff, and came out and said, all right, hold on. We might have aliens. So just in case, y'all, we're going to baptize them too. And Christians lost their doggone mind. Don't have to believe me. Look it up. Then the Pope said, "What? The gay ain't so bad." He did that. He did this like back to back. My point is, we don't know nothing. We had 9 planets, Jerome. Now we got 2 moons. We just need to stop knowing stuff. But you know what we know how to do? Sin. Oh, we real good at it. No, I'm pushing this point. The point I'm pushing is we don't know a motor scooting thing, but how to be mean to each other. And we've been doing this since John chapter 9 and before that. And that point is solid. We've been messy people when there was no planets. We've been messy people when the earth was flat. Some of y'all say it still is. We've been messy people in caves. We've been messy people and all of it. I can't even think. And now we super smart and we got all the technology and we got all the history of not to do this, Ina. We literally have everything. We forget a computer. We can read how being dumb causes this. And you know what we're going to do? Read it and go, huh, not me. And do it over. The only thing that we are smart at is being messy. It's the only thing we really 100% know how to do. If I say Jesus is real, there's someone who's going to tell me Jesus is not. If I say Jesus is not real, there's someone who's going to tell me Jesus is. If I say AIDS is a good thing, there's someone going to tell me AIDS is not. If I say racism is real, there's someone going to tell me racism is not. But the one thing nobody would ever disagree with is something wrong with us. That's real. There ain't nobody, not a politician, they actually run off the fact that something's wrong with us. I'm the only one that can fix it. That's how politicians run their campaigns. Something wrong with it. Something wrong with my opponent, y'all. Vote for me is basically how politicians run. My point, my very strong point, and my closing thoughts is twofold. Fold number one, we are absolutely insane. We're messy. And no matter how long I do this series, I'm going to keep on pointing out us how I'm messy. Point number two, God has appointed ministry people to fix this problem. I'll do it again. I thought you was going to. Yes, sir.
That's why that Jewish guy said, forgive us our screw-ups as we forgive those who screw up against us.
Well said. Well said, because that's exactly, you show right. You show right. Pastor Tully says since Genesis chapter 3. We ain't finished chapter 3. He talking about verse 15. He says just out the garden. Like, I think just out the garden is like verse 19 or 20 with the flame. And so that ain't even chapter 4. Like, we get out the garden in chapter 3. We don't even wait to chapter 4 to start messing up. It happens in chapter 3. Like, we don't even wait that long, Dion. It's like, well, shit. I mean, he done punished us now. Might as well get everything I'm supposed to do now at this point. And y'all know how we act. I mean, I'm gonna get a whooping anyway, so I'm gonna stay out longer then. Look, I got it here. My point here is twofold. Number one, Grace, we are messy people. Number two, all you people on this call are the weird ones, the chosen ones, the indigo children that were called to do ministry and all the mess that we done brought up. I end you with this and then I'm giving you homework. You, sir, you, ma'am, are the reason why the mess exists. Not just because you're messy, but you can't be an indigo child without mess. Sorry. How are you a star seed in stars? That doesn't do anything. You came back to this planet to help us evolve. And without me being stupid, how are you going to help me evolve? Your homework. The next time, for the rest of this week, I want you, this is going to be a very hard assignment for y'all, some of y'all. This is very easy. It's so positive. So positive. But you know how it is, Jerome, when you tell people to do something positive. Very hard assignment. Y'all ready? All this week, I want all of you to admit that God, or whatever you believe in, chose you to be the chosen one. See, some of y'all don't like that. Because some of y'all right now going,
what does chosen one mean?
That's up to you. I'm leaving that vague to you to find out. That has nothing. I can't tell you how God is using you. That's your journey.
Antonio.
Yes, sir.
Can we leave out that holes in our hands and holes in our feet and spears in our heart and thorns in our head? Can we leave that part out?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just checking.
Amen. Amen. As a matter of fact, I would say even further, let's just let that be Jesus' ministry.
Okay.
Some of y'all right now, you're going, but yeah, man, but I'm having a hard time loving myself. So you doggone sure gonna have a hard time knowing that God chose you to change your world and the world around you. You are so much of the chosen one, Ashley, I'm just making up a name here. You're so much of the chosen one that only you can save your family. Only Kenneth can take his family out of whatever he wants to take them to. Only Ebony can live a life so good that her mama go, maybe I'll try that too. That's your homework. The problem with that is, yes, sir.
One way to do that is we've all felt the presence of God, whether it's looking at a mountain, whether it's helping somebody else, or somebody helping us, whether it's being at church and having them sing. We've all felt that vibration. So that's the vibration you want to duplicate.
Feel no reason to say nothing past that. You know the vibration. There's call it the ring of truth, right? You felt it. That's what he's calling on. So recognize it and be it. Thank you all so much. I'm gonna end this call a little differently today. We come to you right now for everybody up on this call. Just a little short prayer to let them know that you told them pretty much in every religion possible that they would do greater things than you. What? Can you help us believe that? Can you let us recognize that everything we've ever been through, we got out of? Everything we've ever been through, we're here today on the other side of it. We are powerful and we are chosen. In your name, amen. Love you, everybody.
Love you more.
Love you more.
Love you more, brother.
Appreciate you. See y'all for part 4. It's Pastor Tony fault, by the way, y'all. This whole series is Pastor Tony fault. I will end the call and run out of here.
I won't be here for part 4, so everybody enjoy, because I'll be in South Dakota on a mission trip. So right, you can blame me all you want on that one, then I won't be here to hear it.
Hey, Tonio.
Yes, sir.
Man, I need like 10 minutes of your time whenever you have it.
Can we do it tomorrow, or does it have to be tonight?
That's fine. Tomorrow is fine.
Nah, I'll call you tonight. I'll get out of the way right now. I'll call you tonight. Okay. All right, y'all.
Love you more.
Love you more.